Today in the series Increasing Your Halo IQ, we're talking about map control. Now, I want everybody to watch this video first before they jump into any of the actual map videos. So we're going to be going over some simple things that everyone should know so that we have some basic vocabulary as I dissect every single map in Super Husky Raid. So the first episode will actually be formation, but what I'm going to do is actually use formation to talk to you about running routes, as I call them, applying pressure, and just kind of an idea of what that means. Every time you move, pressure changes and map control changes. So I'm going to do my best to give you guys that visual. Not being a graphic designer, please excuse my rudimentary graphics. And making sure that you guys know about timing. So again, we're going to use the formation map to talk about the routes. Now, as I run these routes, I am going to actually have a graphic in the corner of the screen. You may have to, turn your phone, zoom in, maybe go on your computer to see these, so that you can see me running the route as well as see kind of a bird's eye view of what's going on. So again, here's just a picture of what the map looks like from above. So as you can see, it's very symmetrical. You can see that, where the bases are, it's a little bit wider. And of course, there's the tube down the middle. But I've marked everything of importance on this map. So let's talk routes. So I spawned dead center. I didn't spawn in either of my spawns on either side. So from here, I generally am going to go to one angle unless I have some long distance weapon. So if I have a stalker rifle or a sniper, maybe I will move up center, but oftentimes center is just where you go to die, and you can always take a better angle. So at first, what we're trying to focus on is what's the best way using the equipment I have and weapon that I have to get to my ultimate goal, which is making sure there's enough people dead on that team so I can grab the flag or set it up for my teammate to grab the flag. Okay, so before we actually talk about routes, what I want to talk about is I want you to channel your inner SWAT team. So a SWAT team, their entire team is going to apply pressure. They're not going to just rush in. They want to clear as many sightlines as they can as they trudge forward or break through the barrier or whatever it is that they're doing. No one just runs in the center because you're going to lose your life that way. So I really want you to understand pressure. So I'm going to kind of jump you over to this graphic here, and I'll talk to you about that pressure. So let's talk about the amoeba map pressure. So real quick, let's say we all spawn. I'm just going to use these boxes here. You know what? I'll use this. We all spawn 1, 2, 3, 4. They spawn, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So this box, or part of the amoeba, is controlled by red, or more specifically, for now, it's about that much. The furthest forward player is going to manipulate the size of this amoeba. So let's say, and I'm just going to do 1 for now. Let's say green team, we have one person that kind of stays there and shoots, one person that kind of tucks in front of our flag, and 2 people are over here. So not only do we have full control of here, let's say this is neutral right now, and our opponent, maybe they took a similar route. So let's make this red for them. So they're here, maybe they've got one back there, one shooting in, but maybe this guy's tucked over here sniping. So again, they have, this much control. What happens though is people forget that as your team is moving forward, this amoeba is changing. So if I have, 2 people here and 2 people back here, I've pulled my map pressure forward, but what I'm not controlling is over here, here, and back here. Now, the reason that matters is, let's say one of their teammates grapples off the map and ends up over here. Well, they've got an easy one-on-one over here, which let's say that happens. So my guy dies. We have one red guy over here. And our guys are, somewhere over here. I think I had 2 at the Jeep, but it doesn't matter. Now our amoeba is starting to shrink, right? So that's the wrong color. Our amoeba is starting to shrink. The zone here isn't as big, but they're starting to gain control of our map, right? It's kind of no man's territory back here because we don't have a spawner up. We hope that we get a spawner maybe opposite of this guy, right? Hopefully we get a spawner here, but if we get a spawner there, They're kind of isolated from the fight of number one, but again, number one is going to be moving forward, changing the dynamic of this. And again, that's assuming, their team is still doing their thing. So ideally, with our amoeba, let's say, we have one person challenging mid, we get two people over here and two people over there. Well, we don't necessarily have to worry about the no man's zone behind us because we're circling in, right? We're pretty much in control of this map. Maybe we have two dead on their team. They've got one maybe trying to fight off these two here, and maybe one sitting mid, and the other two are dead. So their amoeba is really starting to get small, right? They only own this much zone. And as we make a move for it, right, we're going to start pushing them to one corner. And it's really important that we try to push all of their people, all of their pressure to one corner so that maybe they're over here, so that they have to back up over here. Our guys are maybe taking this angle because they're tucking around that corner. One person's grabbing flag, maybe someone's in the window, and then maybe someone, is backing up number one over here. The reason this is important is, again, we own all of this space. Now, granted, they can have a spawn, this Husky Raid, they can get a spawn here or here. But the best part is, for right now, if there's only two alive, they only own this little piece. So we can have a guy relaying the flag, right? We can lose one of our guys. We still own the green space, and we've pushed them into a corner. The reason I keep specifying a corner is, let's say there's two guys here, because we pushed. We have one on flag. Maybe we have one kind of trying to spawn raid. One's over here, one's over here. Well, our problem now is if we use magenta here as for number two, he's got to look both directions. Now, granted, we've got 3 and 4 over here able to back this number two up while number one grabs that flag and is running. But the problem is, again, 2, their likelihood of dying goes way up. And as soon as 2 dies, red now can collapse on this position and then start pushing their way back into power positions. Because, 2 was so exposed here because he's in the middle that, again, red is going to move in. They're going to move out. They're going to clear out number 4. They're going to clear out number 3. Then you have an issue. So our team is 3 dead. We've got one guy maybe scoring over here, but red is going to quickly start taking positions, right? They're going to quickly start moving in. Their 4th guy spawns, and they're going to shift this amoeba to try to swell, against us. So again, if we imagine everybody kind of has a zone around them, you can see, you can see that we're getting in some trouble here, right? Because this person is all alone. This should be green is all alone. Again, spawns happen over here. So maybe we gain a little bit more foreground, and hopefully they're not pushing too hard. But, if they all collapse, let's say red team collapses window. Right? Oh, stop. So red team collapses window. One comes around here. This guy comes center. They're now pushing us, right? They're pushing our amoeba into maybe a corner over here. They're pushing it, towards the back, whatever. They're just trying to push us out of here so that they can quickly grab that flag and go. So again, every time one person moves, it's really important how does that affect the position of our team and our strength. So that's why sometimes the YOLO guy who, grapples off map as, you've got one guy sitting here, one guy sitting there, and one guy sitting there. You've got a YOLO guy who just like grappled all the way across map. Yeah, okay, he's pulling space. And perhaps if this is the red sight line, so let's actually put some red guys in here. So, we have one guy, two guy, hopefully not 1 and 2 in front of our 1 because 1's going to die really fast. But let's just say that's the scenario. Granted, you got sight lines. Maybe they're starting to look this way, and then our guys might be able to move up, trying to find their positions. But again, even if they're coming fast or even trying to grapple, they still have to hit all their markers first before they're going to try to support 1. And the chances of 1 getting collapsed on go way up, even if you have a spanker, right? So let's say you have a spanker. And, so 1 is over here. He grappled over because he's got, a spanker and 2 grapples, or grapples rather. So maybe he is able to execute, these guys. So they're gone. And then number 1 is going to make a move. But the problem is, he's got to reload. Chances are he doesn't have a great secondary. And if we had someone sitting here and sitting here, chances are three's coming window. And as green is going this way, he's not watching his own back. Our teammates, are still trying to maneuver their way up as they're trying to run their routes, right? This guy's coming here. Maybe this guy's trying to go over there. This guy's going to try to cut over and cross. Maybe this guy's going to sit by Jeep and try to go for flag this way eventually. But again, so one killed those two. Now we've got 8 seconds. But, one's all alone for a while. Maybe three tucks out this window, executes our number one guy. Now it's, been 4 seconds, 5 seconds. We've got our number 4. He's going to make a play this way and maybe to the window. Or maybe he's going to come this way just to shoot some cover fire to try to regain some space in here as green's moving forward. Well, now red is going to be an advantage because all of a sudden we have 2 people coming. Chances are this guy, this number 3 that went window and killed 1, picked up the spanker. So they're going to come this way. Maybe they are going grapples back our way because maybe they can cut an angle. Maybe they cut across underneath the map. And, maybe as, 2 and 1 are getting shot off by maybe 4 who moved over here somewhere, maybe green has to back up and is no longer at Jeep. So now they're starting to claim more space, right? This amoeba is changing and we're starting to lose space. And we've also lost a guy. So again, it's all about understanding. If I move here and my team is over there, how does this make it so that we're trying to corner these people? Or at the very least, get them to go in the direction we want them to go. So I talked about this with the Ravager a little bit, is you can use the Ravager Cindershot Heat Wave to kind of be that 5th man and collapse on that amoeba, right? So if I'm, say, sitting maybe Jeep, let's say, and we've got, 2 back here, 1 back here, and over here. This is a typical setup. And I'm Cindershotting, this way. And maybe even trying to Cindershot that way. Well, that's going to make this amoeba, which again is based around the space around these people, right? So we got this, we got this, we got this. These guys are going to have a tendency to go away from the Cindershots, right? So maybe they're going to come window, whatever. And then all of a sudden, we trap these guys, all 4 of them in here, or maybe even back here, because that Cindershot, was doing some crowd control. Well, that's the perfect time if, let's say, I'm sitting here Cindershotting. My teammates are going to try to make their routes known or try to make their routes go around this way, right? Because they know, oh, if he's Cindershotting over here, this is the perfect time to go in the directions he's Cindershotting. Right, so let's use purple as Cindershot. So I'm Cindershotting this way, Cindershotting that way. Granted, red team's firing this way and trying to kill me at Jeep, but I've got some pretty good cover. And again, so now green is starting to creep in and around. They're starting to feel that pressure. Maybe this one goes window. They're feeling that pressure. We can collapse in on this amoeba, maybe 2 from the back and 1 from the side. All of a sudden, they're 4 dead. We get a clean getaway because maybe that 3rd person that gets in there is grabbing the flag. And now again, now we've got someone over here maybe, and maybe they're tucked in at these spawns here, so they're watching, right? So this would be ideal, because then they can watch the spawns and they don't have to worry about crossfire, right? So they're just watching here. They don't have to worry about these guys as sight lines, because if you spawn here, you can't see number 2, and if you spawn here, you can't see number 1. So they're just chilling, waiting for this guy that's running the flag. Meanwhile, the Cindershot guy, he might have moved from the Jeep. Now he's coming this way. He might be making a run for center because number 1 and number 2 have it covered, right? They have it covered. They're watching each other's back as one dies or the other one dies. Maybe 3 slows down, but maybe not. Maybe they get another flag and they're running. Meanwhile, the guy who just ran the other flag might be already in here. And let's say, by this time, a spanker's gone or whatever, and they're going to start taking a route to try to replace. Maybe 2 gets killed, right? So maybe 2 gets killed here. Maybe 1 is just barely hanging on by a thread. In 3 seconds, he's going to die. But all of a sudden, 4 is starting to come over this way to try to replace what 2 is, or maybe just sit here, maybe sit behind the pillar and just try to confine maybe 2 or 3 of the guys in this area to keep their amoeba over here because they're distracting them. It prevents that team from maybe moving in towards the flag while we wait for our team to spawn back because they have to make it all the way back across the map. And again, number 3 or 2 or whoever, number 4 that just came around the corner to try to capture that spawn, they're kind of throwing their life away. But again, they're trying to keep the amoeba as close to this spawn as possible. Meanwhile, other people are spawning in and around here. But if we get lucky and our guy is sitting right there, right, they're doing a lot of crowd control. And again, you're going to have anybody who spawns in these moving over this way. So they're going to lose all of this space. This becomes unknown space or dead space to that team. So maybe our team that knows one is going to die is going to start maneuvering this way, maybe through the window, try to control this way, shoot that way, because they know, hey, nobody's over on that side. We can collapse on them this way. And again, meanwhile, one more guy is going to be coming this way just to keep throwing bodies at it, to keep that amoeba in that corner. So again, I'm hoping you understand a little bit more about pressures, amoeba this way. All right, let's move on to the routes. So I'm going to typically take an angle towards the left side or right side. If I have a long-range rifle, I'm going to jump onto this first box, and I'm going to be aiming here, trying to shoot my way out. Maybe I'm looking over at their spawn, keeping track on if people are spawning back here, and shooting. If it's clear, I'm going to move my way up, and I'm going to hug this wall and try to crouch into here. So my second position that I'm trying to run to is right here. So I went from the back center, I went to one of the pillars or one of the boxes. I made my way up here. And again, keep in mind, I'm shooting my way to these positions. I'm shooting the whole way. Next step is the Jeep, because I'm mid. Now I'm fighting through the Jeep. This is a very tricky spot. You don't want to be here long, because we've got people that could be on either side, people that are going to be in center. Now again, most people, they're going to try to die for this flag right away. But I'm not going to do that. I may tuck to this wall and then try to tuck around to this nook here as I make my way around. Now, as people are dying, I may run up the ramp into the window. I may slide in, grab the flag, and go. Maybe I can't go through the window because I know someone's standing on the flag. So I'll go around back, hug the wall of their spawn as a natural barrier. I'm shooting my way around. Maybe I'll come back from behind, grab the flag. As I'm shooting my way, grabbing the flag, and I'm going. Now this is just a very simple route, right? I have no equipment, let's say, no shields, no nothing. I'm gonna take an angle. I'm gonna have to juggle it home. And I score. Okay, so that's a simple route. Now, okay, so what I may do with grapple now, because I have some equipment, is instead of, say, going all the way around nice and slow, I might just cut the center here and grapple this wall here, come up through here. Even if I don't have very good weapons, I can get in here, and as I was grappling off the edge, maybe I see somebody, so I know as I come up this wall, I need to be able to fight. Maybe I take the angle back here. I'm not thinking about the window. Maybe I'm thinking about shooting over here. Maybe it's time to take the window. So I come through the window, grab the flag, and I can go. Maybe there's people here I need to shoot, right? And then when I have the flag, I'm going to grapple slide through over the Jeep, throwing the flag, grapple slide until I score, right? So I'll show you that with the flag. I grab the flag, I'm away, I grab the slide, I throw, ooh, hello. I grab it, I grapple slide, I'm in, and I score. Flag captured. Okay. Now let's get a little bit more spicy. So again, I never go down the middle. I shouldn't say never. I try not to go down the middle. If, a team has a shield up here, maybe I'm here. But I'm always trying to think about how do I get to some natural covers. So my first checkpoint is here. Maybe I'm shooting. Second checkpoint's here. I'm looking over here. Maybe I cut over here to the side. Maybe I'm using thruster. I'm shooting my way in. Maybe I come from the back and I'm killing. Again, maybe I go window. Oftentimes they're expecting you to go window, so you gotta be careful. But, grapple is definitely the best way to get around on this map. Right? Now, let's say I'm gonna take a route to the side here, I'm shooting, there's these pillars, right? Maybe I jump off the edge and I'm actually gonna go under the bridge because I know there was people on the other side. So now I'm through the window in 2 grapples. I can grab that flag. But notice, I'm never going to grapple off the edge. if you die, that flag is despawned. You're better off going down the center and having to relay it. But again, maybe I take that route because over here, I saw 2 people spawn, and I'm like, well, I don't want to mess with that, right? So I'm going to come this way. I'm going to throw myself into the air. Maybe I can shoot down. The window's open. I'm in. I can see the flag. I grab it, and I'm gone before they even know. Right, so let's throw that off the edge. Okay, maybe
enemy flag
I'm battling my way in. I'm using these barriers as my natural barriers, right? Because I know teammates are coming down the center. So my route is I'm taking the same angles but backward. Because I don't want to expose myself too much, right? If, let's say, as I came through here, I'm just like dive bombing in, shooting. I'm not paying attention to the spawns. I want to tuck to a wall. Okay, I'm safe. I know someone's spawning over here. I use this barrier as my natural barrier. I'm shooting in. I can tuck around, shooting in, just to give a diversion. You know, I grab that flag. I'm over here. I'm throwing that flag. And then I'm trying to grapple in. So again, this map is pretty simple when it comes to routes. There aren't a ton that you need to take. Again, always try to cut one of the angles, because if you're in the center here, you're just asking to get killed, right? So if I stay at this Jeep too long, you know, I've got all the spawns over here, all the spawns over there, and people coming from the back row that could be killed in me. So again, I'm never the type that's just going to try to challenge this flag straight on unless I know a lot of people are dead, right? So again, there you guys have it. Some basic pressure things. We're going to be doing a much deeper dive into formation. We're going to be using all the types of equipment, talking how to use different weapons when running these routes. But again, I want you to start understanding that these maps, as you push pressure one way, the dynamic of the amoeba, right? The dynamic of the amoeba changes. And your goal is to try to punch the amoeba to one side and not necessarily down the center, because then you, again, have to turn your head either way. You want to push that amoeba to one side if you possibly can. And again, know what routes you're going to take. As soon as you spawn, I'm going left. I'm going right. I'm going to cover center. I'm going to take this angle, or I'm going to support down the middle. I'm going to try to get to Jeep, and then I'm going to cut over. You got to be making these decisions, granted, while getting shot and blown up and bombed and grenaded and all kinds of stuff going on. But again, always know, where am I off to next? What's my next checkpoint? Because it's not simply dive down the center. So again, I hope you guys got something out of this video. If you did, please hit the like button, subscribe to this channel so you guys don't miss every single map being dissected. We may not do all of the maps in a row. I may do 3 to 5 at a time and then kind of jump to other topics as we go, but we will cover all of the maps. So again, until next time, guys, I'll see you then.